sometimes it's easy to think that new tech can solve old problems, right? I mean, like, for instance, can AI help employees be better at processes that don't exist or at least aren't documented well? It's one of the questions we tackle on this episode of the Bridgecast. This is the second half of our 2024 kind of recap episode, practical discussions from IT leaders for IT leaders in about 30 minutes, right? And hang in here for another episode of the Bridgecast. Oh, and please don't forget, if you like what you hear here, please click, follow, subscribe, like, give us a great comment on your favorite podcast platform. Let's get into the episode.
Tech has reshaped our reality, redefining how we live, work, and connect. And driving this revolution, real people with bold ideas. Welcome to the Bridgecast, where host Scott Kinka has in-depth discussions with the brightest minds in tech. Together, they tackle the future of work, innovation, entrepreneurship, and navigating the new realities of AI and hybrid work. These conversations will give you the insights and strategies to stay ahead, both in business and life. The Bridgecast is a service of Bridgepoint Technologies. As the nation's leading tech advisory and consulting firm, Bridgepoint is disrupting the way businesses make and manage their technology and customer experience investments. We invite you to experience the better way, the Bridgepoint way. Now, here's your host, Scott Kinka.
All right, so let's talk about budget. AI adoption and investment trends. So going to Milland from Observe, he highlighted that AI fatigue results from companies adopting AI without specific goals or measurable outcomes. Christy Thomas actually added that the businesses need to focus on clear ROI metrics, which we talked about a little bit, to overcome this fatigue and skepticism. Prior to that, Altaz from Infotech, Altaz Villani from Infotech said 75% of companies are increasing their AI budgets, but only 15% know where to spend it. And then one more, a Kinkaism maybe that goes on a mug, we're in the era of doing more with less, but the less keeps getting bigger. So where should people spend their money?
Well, let's address both of those things. I mean, I'll go to the end and kind of work my way backwards. I think my statement on stage there at Summit was related to the fact that, our numbers tell us that IT budgets continue to increase. Okay. So they're not going down, and generally they're increasing in areas of investment like AI. Okay, but we're being asked to do more with less, meaning on the non-investment categories, how do you get more efficient on the rest of your spend?
Right.
So it's interesting trends that we see right now. What's going on in the marketplace is, yes, we'll invest in AI, but we want to pull that money from someplace else, right?
Yep.
Okay, now, getting back to the earlier statement about an ROI, I think the challenge is, how do you measure human productivity?
Okay.
In a general sense, right? So companies that go, hey, we're going to come up with a policy around what's our policy around governance for AI in our business? Great. Okay, now we're going to turn on Copilot. All right, now, and this gets back to these standards we're talking about too.
Sure.
And it being looked at around different ways around the world. Are we going to pay people for output or time? Like we've spent, the last several hundred years paying people for time, a day's wages for your effort. And performance is a matter of whether you keep your job for the next day or whether you get fired.
Right.
But what happens when, let's say, you're coding and you're coding the old way and you're hand jamming, and then some kid next to you is able to output a similar amount of code by asking AI to write 3/4 of it. And they get as much or more done, but they do it in 2 hours.
Right.
They get to take the rest of the day off. They get paid for the full day.
Right.
So it's going to change how we think about work intrinsically.
Yep.
Also. Now, I say that as a precursor to the ROI conversation. How do we measure productivity? You turn Copilot on inside your business. There's not going to be a direct line to the balance sheet of the business.
Right.
Where you're like, oh, God, we turned on AI. Look at how much more money we're
making. Right.
So the idea around ROI, and I think what was Milland and Christy were getting to on this, is try to turn on AI, because there's going to be effort to turn anything on.
Sure.
Try and turn it on in places where you can measure. We've been talking a little bit about contact center as an example, right? Can the agent get to more calls in the same period of time? Can the agent get a higher satisfaction rate in an A/B test between the two. Like, try and find projects where you can do it in a small area and there's a demonstrable ROI to be generated.
Makes sense, yeah.
Because this work that you really need to do from a kind of policy perspective in the business, this data cleanup we were talking about, there's a lot of work and all that.
Sure.
Right? And if you do that generally, and then you just kind of turn it on, and there's nothing measurable, then, okay, why do we do all that? That's going to be the answer. Getting back to the IT department generally having a challenge speaking CEO, speaking CFO, right? How do you... We turn it on. Everybody feels great. AI, what do you mean? We spent all that money. It was totally worth it. What'd I get?
We can't.
Right? But if you're able to work in smaller projects where there's a demonstrable ROI, there's going to be more willingness to sort of invest in doing it across the business. And you'll get that suspension of disbelief out of the C-suite. That the broader project, that maybe is a little bit hard to track a direct ROI, is going to be worthwhile because you demonstrated it in like 3 real use cases.
Makes beautiful sense. So find something measurable.
Implement
AI into that space, and then report on the ROI.
I
mean, it's simple. That's easy. All right. So the last of those, the trifecta we talked about in the AI space, and I'm hoping you're going to make the people feel better about this. Is human and machine collaboration, right? So both you and Altaz stress the importance of human oversight in AI-driven processes, noting that while machines can handle large volumes of data, humans need to guide decision-making and ensure appropriate outcomes. More specifically, your quote was, the difference between human intelligence and artificial intelligence is imagination. That will always be what sets us apart. So the question is, help convince the people that their jobs are going away or not going away. What specific skills can you point to that'll help folks outlive the great AI job overtaking?
So there's a few things there. Let me get back to that imagination point. That was in my keynote. We were talking about, our show was called Reimagine the Future. And it was thematic throughout. And in the keynote, I was using that thematically. And obviously a lot of that circulated around AI. There was when I said that, that's the reason why I was reaching over here. I put up a quote from Albert Einstein on the big screen that said, the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination, right? And it's hard to say whether machines can imagine, at least not by definition, right? Because the core definition, if I go back a couple slides, let me just find it real quick, because I think it's valuable to sort of do this. The definition of imagine is to form a mental image of something not actually present to the senses, right? Which means, if you were going to use that, and this could be an entire episode, and if you're watching this and you want to comment and disagree with me, this could be a fun debate. And I'm going to take a position that I don't even know that I wholeheartedly agree with, but I think machines can't imagine because they're only based on instruction. So, it's AI by design is referential, not self-referential, and not, fully without reference. Meaning you have to give it information that it consumes, and it draws connections between this data sets. But today it's not doing is going, I had an idea that just poof, imagination popped up in my head, right? Now, one could argue, and we're having this whole conversation about the singularity and when we get there and the whole 9 yards, that maybe machines get there. But at the end of the day, it's still based around an instruction set. I have an idea that's based on all of the inputs that I was allowed to process, right? So ultimately, now I'll bring this forward to your human question. Will the humans ever be replaced? I think there will come a time where there will be, in many industries, a little bit of a reordering of labor. But if globally we get to the point where we don't let AI get out of hand by just providing it do what you want instructions, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, then it will always require humans to provide AI instruction. Right? So what I would say is, if you're looking to get your skills together, be somebody who becomes good at prompting AI. Practice on large language models. Squeeze as much as you can out of it. That's a skill set that will be in demand. Even if you feel like the work that you do maybe today is repetitive and the thing that could potentially be AI driven at the end of the day. And if you're a super geek on it, I always go back to iRobot. Watch iRobot. The new one, the old, read the Asimov. I mean, that was from I think Asimov wrote it in the 30s, and it was a movie in the 2000s.
Yep.
Right? But it was about the idea of sentient, machines. But at the end of the day, it was still a matter of where were they in their own interpretation of the 3 laws. Right?
Yep.
Instructions.
Yep.
Right? Be somebody who knows how to prompt AI to get the output that you want, and you'll be fine. Right?
Prompt engineering. It's a new thing coming,
Prompt
right?
engineering, yeah.
All right, so that was great. I love the iRobot references. I love that sentient stuff. Like, to me, it makes me nervous, but it's exciting at the same time, right? So let's talk about predictions. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm gonna make myself look terrible here. But I parsed out, some of our guests had some sports predictions.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so as Eagles fans,
Yeah.
and the time we're at, we're
In between the wild card and divisional round.
which we just won, and we're heading into a home game.
Yes.
I don't want to laugh at these people, but I definitely want to giggle a little bit.
Okay, let's
Can we giggle?
Let's have some fun. Let's giggle.
All right, so Graham Geddes
Wait,
from Zoom.
as we're doing this, hold
Yes.
on.
I like that. I like it. Go Birds. Graham Geddes from Zoom said the 49ers will win the Super Bowl.
Sorry, Graham, that didn't age very well.
Didn't age well. Ryan DeRocco from Performative. The Dolphins will have a solid shot at winning next year, assuming a healthy team and active key players.
Neither happened.
Yeah, they have a mess on their hands right now.
Yes, they do.
I mean, and he said here, he added that while he supports Tua, he hopes his health remains a priority, which I do too. That was it was sad to see that happen to him.
Yeah.
Anthony Libretto from 1111 says, wait, I'll wait till you're done doing that so you don't spit your water. The Jets will win the Super Bowl.
Wow.
That didn't age well either.
Can we just cut that part out and use that as a snippet on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
We'll just
100%. Well, that'll be a TikTok.
We'll tag him in.
Yep. All right. So now that we had a little bit of fun, and of course we're not making fun of anybody because God knows how the season's going to end for us.
Sure.
2 weeks from now, you might be laughing at us. We'll see. Now we're going to get into predictions on artificial intelligence. Ray Kasai from TalkDesk. In the AI hype cycle, there will be both significant winners and catastrophic failures. Have there been so far any notable winners or losers, or is it still too early to tell?
I mean, the winners are the people that own the tech right now, right?
Give me a couple.
NVIDIA. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I was going to start with the platforms, and then I was going to say, and the people who are powering it.
Okay.
NVIDIA, anybody who's manufacturing any kind of silicon that's in use right now is a big winner.
Yeah.
Right. The platforms themselves are big winners, just because of the investment coming in. But I don't think there's any. This is the company who's going to run away with the AI race kind of stuff going on. Yeah, not yet.
Yeah. Okay. So we're just side note, real quick.
Yeah.
Are you a ChatGPT or a Gemini user, or are you using something else completely? Just for your generic.
Yeah. I'm ChatGPT if I'm working on a project, but I do a lot with Copilot actually.
Okay.
Write this for me. Do this for me. Hey, can you get a thing that looks like kind of thing? If I'm doing project work, but listen, at the end of the day, you have to be careful with ChatGPT because you're not loading up business information in it. It becomes part of the public large language model. This gets back to the governance conversation earlier. How many of you are out there have put something up in there and you're like, oh, well, great. This is for me. Well, it's not for you.
It's for everybody.
It's for everybody.
That's for everybody.
Yeah.
That's good. I didn't think about that actually, but when you are putting that stuff out there, salaries, other things like that, you never know. I mean, God only knows how they're using it inside hospitals with HIPAA and everything. I mean, there's got to be.
I mean, what's going to become an interesting. I'll hold because that's probably my answer to your prediction. Comment.
Fair enough. Okay, good. All right, so Pete Eisengrind from Evolve, your old friend from Evolve IP. A massive data leak related to AI will occur in the next 12 to 18 months. As of July 2024, 77% of companies reported data leaks related to AI. Stupid question. Is that going to increase or will it get better at it?
Oh, no, there's going to be I'm leaning in on Pete there.
You are?
We're going to have a massive, something really ugly.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where, not just like a breach where people have my social security number, something bigger?
No, I think it's that kind, that level of thing.
So just personal information that gets out there and it's going to be at a wide scale.
Let me think about it. How many businesses, big businesses today, have governance platforms in place? Most of them don't even have governance yet.
Right.
Well, just say big companies do, public companies do. Those who have outside investment do, obviously. Those that are in regulatory do, right? But a lot of companies that are holding a lot of key information don't even have internal policies yet, let alone again, remember we're talking about that attack vector on the security side,
Sure.
being humans? You could have a policy. It doesn't prevent somebody, unless you're doing it systemically, from taking a spreadsheet, uploading it, and go, hey, analyze this for me. Well, we just put out all of our customer information.
Leaving their phone unlocked somewhere on a subway.
Who knows?
Yeah, I know. That was interesting to me when that came out on that episode. That was something where it was like, when you were talking about you got to lock the people down. I was like, I never really thought about it like that. It's usually the laptop with the VPN connection that's connected at home, but it's really my wife. Like, you got to keep your eyes on what she's doing, right? Like, and that's hard to do. So that's hard to do.
Yeah, of course.
We're going.
My wife, hey, what's my password for this?
Yeah. I'm not gonna.
Hold on.
Gene 123. Password star. Super secure. All right. Mark Hupt is coming back from DataBank. The geopolitical situation. Oh, this one's going to be fun.
Uh-oh.
The geopolitical situation in the world will worsen, leading to more cyber threats. And then in our 2023 recap episode, you said that the financial caution would continue. Specifically, that cost containment would remain a priority for businesses in 2024, with companies still cautious after the financial uncertainties brought on by the pandemic. All that to say, without getting political, post-election, do you think this prediction is still holding up or will hold up?
Oof. No, I think it will hold up.
You do?
I do. I think we have a couple things going on, and I think that, my personal feeling is that the world is reorganizing itself into two blocks again.
Okay.
You're starting to see, right? There's North Koreans fighting for Russia in Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
They're aligned with the Chinese, who I hope, at the end of the day will, between the debt that they hold and the products that they need to buy from Western countries, will, keep that axis from building. But there's definitely an emerging feeling around this kind of Western and not,
Okay.
right? And when you're thinking about that in the veil of all of these technologies that we have going on right now, some will regulate. What happens when Western countries regulate and the people who hate Western countries don't?
Right.
Right, then what? The bad guys have the stronger guns.
Yeah.
And I mean technological guns.
Sure.
In the case, right? So we're going to be in for an interesting time. And I also wonder how the current incoming administration, which is, open markets, free capitalism focused, right? Innovation focused, right? You obviously have Musk now involved, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
They're going to go all in, but you also wonder, geez, you take the TikTok situation as a perfectly good example. Will they also potentially overreach in terms of protecting U.S. interests and stifle potential, innovation?
Yeah.
Right. So it's going to be really interesting. The incoming administration could go either way. So I think, the current geopolitical environment is going to be really, really interesting in terms of how it's going to affect technology and budgets.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I didn't end on that question because that was somewhat dark.
But listen. Here's the one thing. Like, if you're a U.S. based business or a U.S. based investor, here's the one thing the all U.S.
Rah rah.
Us against the world is on its way in.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So safe to invest in U.S. companies.
Maybe we move all of our data centers to Greenland.
You never listen. Ample natural resources.
Right. Sounds like we're going to get it on the cheap.
But if you think about, like, getting back to the winners here, right? Who are the other winners? Self-generating power providers and data centers.
Sure.
Right? I mean, there's not even enough commercial power in a lot of areas to power the data center growth that is happening.
Right.
Right.
That's
so
crazy.
People who are, Alaska is going to be in great shape.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Ample resources for natural gas power generation. Think about it.
Yeah.
Drop a data center right on the field. Like, we could have all the environmental conversation you want, but at the end of the day, our traditional power grid is not powering the next generation of tech that we have going on right now. So, don't think that the whole Greenland conversation is we would just love a buffer between Canada and the top of Russia. It's also a giant plot of land that's cool and has ample access to resources.
Interesting. So is that why I Google when I chat GPT questions about the latest model that's out there, my lights dim?
Okay.
No, yeah. Okay. Oh, no, I'm sorry. All right. So This one is going to be all. This one has. I don't know why I fit this in here, to be
Yep.
honest with you, but it's an interesting question because you and I have been going back and forth about this recently. But Russo, one of our own, Eric Russo from Bridgepoint, a new technological boom is coming, potentially driven by AI or digital transformation. He compared it to the internet boom during his time at Cisco and suggested that cryptocurrency might play a role in future business transactions. How close are we to crypto being a larger player in the business transaction and everyday use?
Well, considering you helped me buy my first crypto like within the last week, I'm probably not the best, you know.
Yeah.
I've remained on the sidelines for a whole host of reasons, which I probably shouldn't have, is the reality of it. I think from a technological perspective, what we're really talking about is the power of blockchain.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
As it relates to this. And, you know, again, this is another one of those scenarios where the kind of traditional stances of the incoming party and the techno right wing that's coming in with the party may be at odds, right? I don't see, you know, alternative forms of non-U.S. currency being a thing that the incoming administration and certainly the, you know, the red bloods, right?
Yeah.
Are gonna lean in on.
Yeah.
But I could sure as hell tell you that the Musk arm of the party, the techno right, is all in. So it's
Dogecoin himself?
it's going to get really interesting.
It's going to get it. That's. I mean, I think everything's going to be interesting at this point, right? All right, so I'm actually going to just jump into these predictions made in our 2023 year-end episode. So we're going to call this segment "Back It or Scrap It." All right.
You're going to put the artwork up there?
Yeah,
Back it or
actually, we
scrap it?
should. We should. And I'm probably going to have to tone down because I know I just got really loud on the mic and it's probably going to. If you're listening to this on headphones, I'm really, really sorry. All right, so I'm going to read off a prediction that you made in 2023. And I just want you to say, yes, I still stand by it, and here's why in 10 seconds, or let's just scrap it.
Let's rapid fire these.
Okay, let's do a rapid fire. All right, so AI chaos.
All right, let's do this before this.
Another one?
We're going to need to, yeah. Okay, you're ahead of me.
Okay. Oh, I'll wait then. Okay. All right. So I'll read this off while you're doing it. AI chaos. You predicted chaos around LLMs and AI, stating it would dominate the tech landscape and board-level conversations, noting that AI adoption is reminiscent of the early cloud adoption phase, where businesses are still figuring out specific use cases. Back it or scrap it.
Totally back it. But I think the area where it was off was like we're now at the precipice of the chaos.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? But the latter statement is spot on.
Okay.
You know, we're in the age, and you've heard me, I probably said this, and maybe I'm jumping ahead. You know, we're in the age of go get some. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is, it's very much like cloud, where we're in this mode of, you know, board level edicts of we need to have some of this stuff. I have no idea what I need it for, but we got to have some because I need to be able to say that on my next earnings call.
Right.
Right, or my next board meeting or whatever it happens to be.
All right, so back it. So second one, this was an interesting one because it kind of is like just came out of left field, I think. CX dominance continues. You suggested 2023 was another banner year for CX, driven by increased automation and customer expectations post-pandemic. You predicted that CX would remain a focus in 24, but with more emphasis on data cleanliness to ensure effective AI-driven customer engagement. Back it or scrap it?
No, totally back it. I mean, it's exactly where we are. We're going to drop, I'm not sure if before this episode or right after this episode, you know, our episode with the ESPN team on the work that we've done with them, but also, you know, their whole work around fan experience.
Yep.
This gets back to the earlier statement around focusing on, you know, designing the house versus running the plumbing, which is kind of exactly what came out there, right?
Yep.
Is, you know, businesses are getting smart and consumers know what they want, right? The companies that are going to win are going to be the ones that aren't going to be so worried about plumbing.
Yeah.
Right? And they're going to hire others to do that or lean on partners and focus on what the customer experience actually is. So backing that one, absolutely 100%.
Okay, cool. Network and security convergence. You emphasize that networking and security have become inseparable. And I actually had a quote for you about it's not network or security, it's network and security, right?
Yeah.
I remember that one. With ongoing discussions focusing on hybrid networks, supporting hybrid work environments. This trend is expected to continue evolving. You said stop debating, here it is right here, I jumped ahead of myself. Stop debating network or security. It's not network or security anymore. It's network and security. You can't separate them. Back it or scrap it.
Totally back.
Yeah, that was an easy one.
I think what we've done though is that we like the intelligence. It used to be that you sold a wire and you move stuff over the wire. I'm going to have a private line. I'm going to have, I'm going to have a wire to my other office. I'm going to have a wire to my business. Eventually technologies more intelligent, like up the stack technologies like MPLS came out, and we started building the networking logic in, a layer up effectively.
Yep.
Now they're fully separated, right? Now we're talking wires. We're pretty much just talking wires to the internet.
Right.
Everybody's got it. I don't care how it is, line of sight, fiber, whatever. And then all of the connectivity is logical, the private connectivity. And that's pushed and changed because people are also at home. So, hybrid work's an interesting thing, right? You have to plan for every employee being in and every employee being home at the same time.
Yep.
Right? Which means that, the private networking has really completely just become the security edge.
Okay.
I mean, we were wrapping up our numbers for the year, and Mike Pereira, who not everybody here knows, but he's our EVP of technology. I mean, we were arguing over where certain suppliers of ours sit.
Okay.
Is it network in our network category or our security category?
Interesting.
Right? Just because we're like, listen, we don't even sell that provider where it's not. It's a networking service. It's a private networking service. It's a connectivity service. But with people at home, you turn every single instance, you're turning all the security features on and planning it with it. So yeah, 100%. It's network and security.
Backed it. You backed another one. So we're 3 for 3.
Oh boy.
All right, AI security risk. The idea of dark AI was introduced, predicting that generative AI models will pose new security risks, leading to a rise in AI-driven cybersecurity threats and defenses.
We're in it and we're going to be in it forever.
Okay.
Back it.
So you're more coming.
Oh yeah, it's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse. Okay.
Sure.
I figured as much. Like some of these I read and I'm like, I think I know what he's going to say here. That was one of them. Regulatory and legal challenges for AI. You forecast as significant regulatory and legal challenges surrounding AI, including copyright issues, deceptive marketing practices, and ownership of AI-generated content. That's a back it.
Yeah, it's definitely a back it. I think much like one, I'm not going to give myself a great score on that because I said that as a prediction last year.
Yeah.
And it's still a thing to come.
Right.
But we really didn't see the beginning of that.
So you could predict it again and still be safe.
You definitely predicted again and still be safe. I probably missed on it being a massive part of the conversation in 24.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah, but was that your fault or was that just a slow acceptance of it? Right? Were you ahead of the game or?
No fault to be ascribed here. I'm always faster. I always say it should take less time than it should.
Damn it, I knew that. I should know that. Yeah. All right. Okay. So that's it with the predictions for 2023 into 2024.
And that was back it.
Or scrap it.
All right.
That's going to be something else. That's going to be something else.
Yeah.
All right. So now for the fun part, I'm going to rapid fire a couple questions for you. These are questions that he asked everybody at the end of all the episodes.
Okay.
There's no secrets here, right?
All right.
There might be one in here.
Final segment?
This is it.
All right.
We're wrapping it up.
Cheers to the final segment.
Cheers to the final segment.
There
Thank
we
you
are.
for this.
All right.
Another year by us. Hopefully we have another great one coming up. I'm sure we will. All right. So what's on your end table now?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
Okay.
So no surprise.
Oh.
I brought it down.
Oh, I see. Now he snuck that by me.
And by the way, interestingly enough, I was on a call with Melanie Thomas.
Okay.
And Melanie, we haven't even had this conversation because it was sitting on hers as well.
Okay.
You can see it behind her desk.
I don't even know what it is.
So this is the Creative Act. It's by Rick Rubin, music producer
sure.
Rick Rubin.
Yeah.
To me, two awesome parts about it. One, it's a little bit like Sun Tzu's Art of War.
Okay.
In that every little chapter is independent.
Okay.
Like you don't need to read it in succession. They're just concepts. Like everyone is a creator is chapter 1. You say that all the time. You know what I mean? Right? Nothing is static. Conversation about that. So they're just, it's in the vein of being, one of the most accomplished music producers there is, right, of all time. But it's written kind of topically around just the business of music, but also the business of just being creative, about being human. It's also, and I thought about this coming into this episode because I knew you were going to ask me this, super interesting in the vein of the conversation that we were just having around AI.
Okay.
And the human aspects of it.
Okay.
Because this is an entire book about human creativity.
Interesting.
And it, I won't get too far. I'll let people draw their own conclusions, but a really interesting read in today's age about the value of human creativity and how to really get the most out of your own.
So 2 quick questions. One is, any idea, I'm putting you in the spot, you might not, when it was written?
Oh, it was recent.
Fairly recent?
Yeah, it's within the last couple of years.
And does he have a
2023.
Does he have a chapter in there about beard care?
There is not one in here about beard
Okay,
care.
I was just checking.
But look, spontaneity, how to choose, expect a surprise, great expectations, having a point of view, driving momentum. They're snippets. Driving momentum is 8 pages.
Got it.
Right. So it's good. I mean, I love it. I think it's a good kind of easy read, particularly if you're somebody who likes to have a book but doesn't plow through it.
Yeah.
It's great end table reading because you can just kind of pick it up, go to a topic.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a good recommendation for you folks out there. Your one app last year was a music app. Typically, you were more Apple music heavy than say Spotify. Has your one app changed?
Well, I think there's 2 things on that. I continue to go back and forth between Apple and Spotify.
Okay.
Which is kind of interesting. I copied a bunch of my playlists over to Apple because it's just so integrated with the rest of the ecosystem. It's easy to ask Apple for songs. They have Apple gear all throughout the house. I have it in my car. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's just a little bit less easy to do with Spotify.
Okay.
Right? And frankly, the audio quality I felt like was better on Apple. I'll be honest. Maybe that's controversial, but because you can get it in lossless, and you were getting the spatial audio. If you're listening to it on Apple Gear, but Spotify just continues to innovate. The AI DJ, all the other stuff that's really going on, and one of the reasons why I started shifting back a little bit was sort of the social aspect. More people are on it, so the social aspects of Spotify are just easier.
Yeah.
I found myself mailing, shooting you a song, and you're like, hey, shoot that back to me on Spotify, and I'll shoot back to you.
Yeah, right.
Right. So the social aspects, I think, of it are really, really important.
Okay.
And interesting.
Interesting.
I think I would still stay there, although I mentioned TikTok earlier, and I'm not a big TikToker.
Okay.
But, something with video shorts in it is interesting because I think I would not be able to disconnect enough to hear a song and have it have an emotional effect on me. So I think I would still stick with the music app.
Okay.
But some kind of app where I could scroll shorts all day.
Yeah.
It is interesting to think that there's already more content than you could consume for the rest of your life.
That's unbelievable.
There's also more music than you could consume for the rest of your life. So I think I'd have to decide. It really depends on what kind of dystopian future we were in.
Okay.
Yeah,
and I have
if I was the last living human, I think it would still be the music app.
I'm with you on that. I'm a music guy myself, and I have all the gear. I get the Bose headphones, and I'm just. And also, what I like about Spotify is the audiobooks and the podcasts.
Yeah,
you get everything all in one spot. I will tell you this though. I think this is funny. With the way the algorithms work on TikTok and on Instagram Reels, I'd be afraid to show you my phone because you'd get a real good sense of the type of humor that I have, right? Because it brings that stuff together. I always tell if you grab somebody's phone, go straight to TikTok, it'll tell you what they're looking at real quick. Yeah. Right? And that's not always a good thing, so don't try that with your husband or wife. So this one was from Patrick Kelly. So he said one of his business mistakes was that he made, one of the business mistakes he made was not seeking out leaders who truly led by example. And that got me thinking. You and I do a lot of talking, and I wonder, is there a leader from your past that you would have considered a mentor?
I mean, so there's so many.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, gosh, people watching this obviously know my relationship with Guy Fardone, who I've been partnered with a couple times. He's the chairman at Bridgepoint. Got a lot of lessons there, obviously, throughout my past and throughout my career. But I'm going to actually share a story from like my first job.
Okay.
And I shared this on the Lead the Team podcast. I did an episode with them, and I got asked a similar question, and he found it super interesting. So it goes back to those of you who know me know that I had a career in music as a teen and through college and through the early part of my career. It was a second income, and did more music than most people got the right to do. So I'm super fortunate for that. But you're a kid. You're playing 7 nights a week. There's lines out the door. You get a little bit full of yourself.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
Easily. And so my first manager, a guy named Billy Stott, used to say to us when we were kids. I mean, 17 and 18 years old, walking into a pack club, making more cash than any 17 or 18-year-old deserved to make.
Right.
He would just say, just remember everybody in the club is working too. And his point was, you're not. Everybody's showing up at 7 and leaving at 4 and making money while they're there. And everybody's involved in the experience of every person in that room. This gets back a little bit to the customer experience question earlier. And it takes everybody to give that experience, that customer experience to the end user. It's not just the band or the entertainment or what have you. And his point was like, just know everybody you work with. You know, be somebody, don't be better that you know better than the busboy who's making sure that there's beer at the bar right next to the stage at the end of the day. And it's, you know, it's a lesson in humility. It's a lesson in, you know, leading, you know, being a servant leader, if you will, at the end of the day. I have to remind myself of it all the time, you know, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Take a second, get to know somebody, shake their hand, ask their name, understand a little bit about them. We're so fast-paced. I personally, you know, business is so fast-paced. You know, I get 5 minutes into a meeting and we're into the meeting and I'm like, I didn't ask you how you were. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And it's like, I self-reflect back to that. A great lesson and the mistake I constantly still make that I have to remind myself. I have a high motor, you know.
Yeah, I know it, yeah.
As you know.
I do.
So I think that would be an interesting piece of advice.
Like it. Yeah, it's good. No, be humble, right? Be present, be humble. I love that. I think that's great.
Yeah.
That was really all I had. So I feel like I need to let you close this one.
Wow. And how do you want me to close it?
Well, first we got to tell people if you like what you saw, send us a message. Subscribe on Apple, subscribe on Spotify, give us a review. We love the 5-star reviews and we love a little comment. Make it nice, right? Keep it professional. But other than that, I would say if you like it and you've been watching, just do us a favor, take 10 minutes. It really helps us get the exposure that we need with this. It gets better guests for this guy over here. We're always looking for, not that we have bad guests, the guests are amazing, but we're always looking for good guests, so that helps too.
Yeah.
But other than that, I leave it to you.
Well, listen, thank you all for another year. We're 70 some odd episodes in. If we weren't getting the support from you, weren't hearing from you, we wouldn't keep doing it. So we're excited to embark into our 2025 season.
Well, I have a little bit left because it's bad luck to do it empty.
Cheers to you, Gene. Thank you for your effort.
You too, Scott.
To the Bridgepoint team. Thanks to everybody out there. And we will see you, it's already 2025, but since this is the end of the year recap, we'll see you in 2025. Thanks for joining us here on the Bridgecast.
Salud.
Listen, if you made it this far, there must have been some good content, or you're just a fan or a relative of mine. In either case, we appreciate you spending your most valuable asset with us, your time. We don't take that lightly. We'd also like to say one more time that we're appreciative of Bridgepoint Technologies and their belief and sponsorship of this show. We hope that if you or someone you know is thinking about your company's digital transformation, or simply the next IT project that you may not have the resources, budget, or time to get to, I'm sure that Bridgepoint, one of the country's fastest growing technology advisory and procurement firms, can help. Check out bridgepointtechnologies.com. Don't forget the E on Bridgepoint, or simply reach out to me at Skinka, SKINKA, at bpt3.net. Also take a minute, please, if you would, to give us a 5-star review on your favorite platform. It helps give us the visibility to reach other people like you. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Bridge. I'm Scott Kinka, and until next time, there's a lot of noise out there in business and in life. Do what you can to be the signal. Thanks.